an Asian tiger, a world tiger, economy growing at 8% plus GDP growth rate. And the deputy chairman says, I don't think 32 rupees a day is ridiculous. And he is fully backed by the Prime Minister of India, fully backed. The media criticizes Montek Singh Ahluwalia, but one should focus one's attention on the Prime Minister, who is determined not to increase the number of people who will get subsidized grain. 50% in excess of the population, 50% and more, malnourished, low body weight, anemia. If one calculates from the mortality rate of India and the fact that 40% of child mortalities are due to malnourishment, you would come to a figure of 3,000 children dying per day due to malnourishment related issues. 3,000 children dying per day. What a crime. Who will pay for this crime? Who should be behind bars for a crime of this enormous proportions, that you starve a population so that its children and its women die due to malnourishment related issues? Who should be punished? Nobody is ever punished.
Over the past 2 decades, India has benefited from rapid and substantial economic growth. But despite the economic prosperity, income inequalities have sharply increased. The stark gap between the rich and the poor in India today is sharper than ever before. Poverty and chronic hunger are no longer stranger to millions of invisible Indians. A large majority still live on less than $1 per day. It is a grim reminder of the fact that despite its ambitions as an emerging economic giant, India still struggles to feed its 121 billion people. The Indian National Family Health Survey shows that nearly 46% of India's children and 55% of its women are malnourished, which is higher than most countries in sub-Saharan Africa, with a lower GDP than India. This year, India slipped to 67th place in the Global Hunger Index rankings of 81 countries prepared by International Food Policy Research Institute.
When India got independent, we were a population of about 320 million. Now this is 65 years back. And today we have the number of hungry in India is also roughly 320 million. The government might try to say, no, we have only 230 million or 250 million people as acute hunger. But the fact of the matter is 320 million people go to bed hungry every night. Now this is 1/3 of the world's hungry population. So roughly about 1 billion people go to bed hungry. In India, roughly about 320 million people go to bed hungry. Because in a country like India, which has roughly about 6.4 lakh villages, that country has about 5.5 or roughly 5+ lakh villages which produce food. Now, why is it that in those villages where surplus food is produced or where a food is produced, people should be going to bed hungry in those villages? So if India was to take care of its hunger, much of the global hunger crisis would be resolved. But unfortunately, India has deliberately kept the hunger hidden so that it doesn't have to focus on eradicating hunger. It wanted to show prosperity, so the best way to show prosperity is to hide the hunger and poverty, and that's what India has done so far.
Government figures may indicate a reduction in poverty, but the truth is, with increasing global food prices, poverty is spreading everywhere. Conditions are worst in rural areas, where close to 70% of India's population resides. The rural communities continue to live at deplorable levels of chronic hunger and malnutrition. The most severely affected are tribal people, single women, old and children. They are the first to succumb to the cycle of malnutrition and death.
There is an index of nutrition for adults, which is called the body mass index, which gives an idea of the nutritional status of the person as well as of the community. If the body mass index of a person is below 18.5, that person is held to be suffering from chronic undernutrition. Now, in India, according to the National Nutrition Monitoring Bureau, which is a part of the National Institute of Nutrition, which is a government organization, the NNMB data show that 37% of adult Indians have a body mass index of less than 18.5. Now, this does not include other forms of malnutrition. This only refers to calorie malnutrition. It does not refer to other very common and highly prevalent forms of malnutrition like iron deficiency, anemia, vitamin deficiencies and so on. Now, if we disaggregate this figure of 37% and if we analyze it a little bit, we find that among scheduled tribes, more than 50% of the adult population has a body mass index of less than 18.5. Among scheduled castes, more than 60%. Large section of minorities have a body mass index less than 18.5. This does not include children below 5 years of age, in which government statistics show that 47% of children below 5 years are malnourished by weight for age criteria. There are international standards of weight for age. Our children, 47% of them below 5 years, 47% of them are malnourished. If we take newborn babies, over 23% of our newborn babies weigh less than 2.5 kilos, which indicates intrauterine malnutrition.
The Indian government embraced the Green Revolution in the 60s, which succeeded in creating a sustainable level of cereal self-sufficiency at the national level, but failed to create a parallel system of self-sustaining entitlements that would provide India's poor with an adequate diet. Hunger and starvation deaths are not due to low per capita food production of a particular region, but it is often due to the deficit of capability to get access to food. This shrinking of purchasing power is responsible for the drop in food grain consumption. In plain words, a vast number of Indians do not have money to buy food that they grow.
The point is that the efforts of some 40 years after independence had been completely wiped out in the last decade. In fact, the last 14 years, I would say, of neoliberal economic reforms. Today, we are back to a per capita availability of only 155 kilograms. So if you take an average family of 4 members, that means that almost 100 kilograms less per annum is being absorbed by an average family in India today, which is a phenomenal drop. If you make international comparisons, today we have the lowest per capita food grains availability outside sub-Saharan Africa and some least developed countries.
The notion that food security is going to come from a scheme where you provide food to everybody, this is not what happens in a normal economy. I mean, in most parts of the world, food security happens because people can get a decent income and people can afford to buy the food, and the country and the market ensures that there's enough food. And that is actually going to be the case even in India. So I don't think that, you know, we should rule out the role of markets. The real logic is that given the limitations of our economy, if you let the markets function, some people will actually not be able to get enough food.
In the late 1990s, there was increasing agitation around food issues as hunger and starvation deaths continued, despite various government schemes being in place to alleviate hunger. The People's Union for Civil Liberties filed a petition in the Indian Supreme Court in April 2001 to seek legal enforcement of the right to food. The case was filed after there were widespread starvation deaths in the state of Rajasthan during the droughts of the late 1990s and early 2000s, despite 60 million tons of grain rotting in the Food Corporation of India's godowns while people were going without food. Supreme Court hearings have been held at regular intervals since April 2001, and significant interim orders have been passed from time to time directing the Indian government to implement the Food and Social Security Scheme.